There are many great tools on Clip Studio Paint, but I swear the ones that I'm going to discuss in this video will literally change your life once you start using them. So without further ado, here are 5 time-saving tools in Clip Studio Paint that will make you feel like a caveman discovering fire for the first time. A long time ago, I stumbled upon this tutorial, and since then I've been obsessed with using the lasso tool. In Clip Studio, the lasso tool has a sibling called the lasso fill tool, to which I crown as the most underrated tool in the software. Not only is it much faster because it fills right after you close the gap, unlike the traditional lasso where you have to press another set of hotkeys to fill the shape, it's also really useful because the lasso fill tool comes with certain features that makes it way better than the OG lasso tool. For example, you can use stabilization together with the lasso fill tool. This is a game changer for people with shaky hands like me because just like with brushes, this helps you get that perfect shape you want technology. You can also use this with the transparency color to erase pixels really quickly like this. Another thing you can do with the lasso fill is using this with the layer border effect. This combo is best used when you're trying to draw either hair really quickly or accessories like string and chains. Of course, I can hear the arguments coming already. Why not just draw them with a brush? Well, with chunkier shapes like these, brushes sometimes don't do the job very well. You tend to get very thin strokes with brushes. The border effect also doesn't work very well with brushes that has transparency, as you can see here. So you would probably need to make custom brushes just to pair them with a border effect. For me, it's just way easier to use the lasso fill. If you don't already know, auto action is a feature in Clip Studio that allows you to pre-record certain sequence of actions. So to put it simply, for example, if you want to create a layer group system that looks a little like this, instead of manually doing it every time, clicking this button and then this one and then naming all of those layers, you can chain together a multi-step action like this and bundle it all together into a shortcut key. So you can recreate that chain of actions again with just a press of a button. The recording process is fairly intuitive as well. You just have to click play here and then start doing the sequence of actions that you usually take to achieve the result that you want. You can use this to do simple things like setting up a values checking layer like this, or you can set up a rule of thirds checker like this that will fit any canvas with any aspect ratio. Of course, this is a highly customizable feature and you can pretty much use it however you want. If you're not sure how you can use this feature though, there are some pretty useful Reddit threads where people shared how they have used this feature to its fullest. You can also download a lot of pre-made auto actions templates on the official Clip Studio asset store. Well, you already know that this is gonna be a great feature. Clip Studio Paint is probably the only drawing program that has a built-in, highly customizable 3D model and a really sophisticated 3D support. Not only can you customize pretty much all the body parts and the body type of the model, but you also have intuitive posing mechanics and features like this crazy AI-powered pose scanner using your own images. They have different head models as well, and these are endlessly customizable with all the different parameters here. They also have this thing called the face mixer that blends different faces together, which helps saving time. Otherwise, I would have spent literally hours just tweaking things here. You can also import poses that other people created or save your own poses as materials for future use. This works for individual hand poses as well. So for example, if you want to keep the body pose as it is, but with a different hand pose like this, I can't. If this is not enough, there are some other pretty insane stuff that you can do with 3D models in Clip Studio as well. For example, you can bring in your own 3D models if you're someone that also dabbles in modeling. This makes setting up environments so much easier and painless. Plus, you can very easily set up different lighting conditions for your scene. The settings can be better, but hey, I find it good enough to use for pure 2D purposes. Or if you want different rendering styles for the shading or the model, let's say you want it cell shaded for some reason, you can do it here as well. Just open up your subtool details, go to preferences, rendering, and then underneath this drop down bar, pick tune. You can also adjust the focal length of the camera using these sliders here. If you're trying to do any fisheye perspective stuff, this will be very useful. Overall, the 3D support is really elaborate and allows you to customize pretty much anything you want I almost think that is a little overkill in terms of the things you can do. I highly encourage you to play with these yourself to understand how it all works. Okay, maybe you don't want to go through the trouble of setting up an entire 3D scene just to test your lighting. In this case, may I interest you with something called Shading Assist. What? This is a fairly recent function that's only available in version 2.0 and above. I know sometimes for beginner artists, shading and lighting might not come as intuitive. So if you want to know more about the fundamentals of lighting, I did a study video on this Illustrator Kana, so check it out. Link will be in the description. The Shading Assist feature allows you to generate a really basic shading mockup directly onto your flat colors. You can also customize the lighting conditions by dragging this thing called the light source manipulator. You can basically get unlimited lighting experimentations with just a few simple clicks. Now, in order for this to work properly, the colors need to be flat. Any pre-existing shading will mess with the AI. So to set this up, you want to, of course, have your lines and your flats ready. And you want to have them on separate layers for this. Set the line art layers to reference layers by clicking this button here. Your flats should look a little like this, with little to no color variation on them. Once you have this ready, select all the lines and flat layers you want to be included, and then go to Edit Shading Assist. You want to check this box right here. From here, you can drag this little thing here to adjust the lighting. Dragging this outer ring will change the intensity of the light, but if you want something quick and dirty, there's also presets that you can choose from here. Clicking OK will create a new layer with the shading applied like this. And there are a lot more settings here that you can endlessly customize, which I'm not gonna go into. But as you can see, you can change things like different colors for your shadows, the type of the light source. So yeah, it's crazy. Then finally, we have reference layers, something that we mentioned briefly. This thing is really useful for filling in flat colors. You can set any layer as a reference layer and just use that layer as a reference to fill in colors. You can even use brushes to fill in the color with the anti-overflow feature. That's a cool name. If you, for some reason, don't like using the bucket fill tool. Speaking of the bucket fill tool, I guess this would be a bonus tool. Okay, so to use the bucket fill tool effectively, you want to first understand what these fill sliders do. With the bucket fill tool, you can drag this across to fill in multiple areas like this. You can also use enclose and fill to circle an area that you want to fill in one go. Works sort of like a lasso, but you don't have to be precise at all. To use the bucket fill tool in its most basic form, you want to pay attention to these two sliders, tolerance. This is basically how well Clip Studio would tolerate different colors in an area when filling. What does it mean? Okay, so take a look at this sketch here. See how there are like different shades of gray included? Clip Studio detects this as different colors, and the tolerance slider basically recognizes these differences or doesn't recognize them based on the value of the slider. The bigger the number, the less it will care about the difference. Close gap. This thing basically adjusts the way Clip Studio detects gaps in your lines. The more this slider goes up, the bigger your gap can be. And pro tip, this visual bar here actually caps you at 20. So you can click here to increase the value further. Yeah, you can go way higher than 20. Combine this with reference layers and you can basically skip the slow and tedious step of filling in your line art. To showcase just how powerful these things can be, let me show you how quickly I can generate different versions of thumbnails combining the tools we have discussed so far. First, let's set up a 3D model and a scene. Let's say with this sick motorcycle and our characters standing in front of it. Then we have our basic buildings behind as a background. They're just cubes, but let's just pretend they're some sort of sick modern high-rise for a second. All right, I'll use the pose scanner here to speed things up. Then I'll draw in lines really quickly here using the models as a reference. They don't have to be perfect at this stage because I'm just making thumbnails. Actually, I lied, because with the lines, you can rasterize the 3D layer. Just duplicate the 3D layer and rasterize it. And then you can go to filters under effects, artistic, and here you can change the whole 3D scene into just lines. So yeah, crazy stuff. You don't even have to draw lines. Next, we can fill these up really quickly with the bucket fill tool and reference layer. And once we have our flats, we can now turn on shading assist and generate different lighting passes on these flat colors. With the lighting, I'm imagining a car behind shining the headlights on her while she's waving at the camera. By the way, you can probably set up some sort of auto action script for these in between steps. They're pretty much repeated to make things go much quicker. I would tweak this further by setting up a gradient map layer to really change how I want the colors and contrast to look. And yeah, just a quick showcase on how you can apply these tools into your current workflow and make them much more streamlined. I probably took a total of about 20 minutes to set all of this up, but remember you can easily go back to the 3D stage and change angles, change the lighting with shading assist and so on. So the second, third, fourth thumbnail will come very quickly. If you found this video helpful, you will find this one worth watching too. Click it. Bye. Bye bye.